Hit record and welcome you. Welcome everybody to the March Masterclass. This is our 5th Masterclass. It's honestly my favorite Zoom gathering every month, and the months are flying by. And this is kind of a significant week. I feel that we've had a year of vulnerability. And so what a timely topic to reflect on this idea of vulnerability. What does it mean? And I'm so excited to introduce you to one of the bravest leaders I know. And I'm just gonna hold off on that introduction for just a moment so that we can just settle into where we are. So I just want to extend gratitude on behalf of the whole Inspired Results Group team and Melody, our guest, who I know we are all situated here in the unceded Coast Salish territory of the Algonquin and Wasanic nations. And we're just going to recognize our settler status here and give a nod to the wisdom of those First Nations and just invite their wisdom to lift us up today as we explore a really important, I would say, I'm going to call it an important topic in the context of our world right now, and certainly in the context of leadership. So here's how we roll here in the masterclass. So we want to create space for you, and we really encourage you to let this hour be all about you for a change. So whatever you need to do to shut out your inbox, the distractions, your family. I've made sure my dog is in his crate because he's amazing, but he's very loud. And so he's quietly enjoying his nap in his crate. We would ask you to stay muted until you're in, of course, the breakout rooms, but there will be connection and conversation. So turn on your cameras and be unmuted for sure in the breakout rooms. And we love to see your smiling faces. So as much as you can keep video on. We just want to be transparent that this session is recorded. It is shared for those who register but can't be with us live. And I have gotten feedback. People actually watch the recording, which is so exciting. So today we're also, I've pinned myself and Melody, so hopefully you will see us as we're in conversation. And you can just play with your view mode if you would like to see everybody. I will be one of my goals in the Learning Lab is not to get overly dependent on the slides. As much as I love my pretty slides. I don't want this to be about PowerPoint. This is about connection and conversation. So we'll be taking down the PowerPoint. Keep your thoughts, your insights, any questions you have coming in the chat. Kayla and Nicole are here to support the chat, and Melody and I will we'll take a breath every once in a while and see if there's some questions, because I really want to hear what's coming up for all of you in these conversations today. So the lab, the Inspired Results Learning Lab, was an idea that came to me last fall. And I wanted to create a space for us to come together to learn, grow. I wanted a place to experiment and do things differently. And most of all, create a place for this community of incredible learners to come together to engage in conversations, in important topics, and with each other. And that has just been so beautiful to see how this is unfolding. And I'm so grateful that you are here. So if this is your first masterclass, welcome, welcome. We are so glad you're here. And for those of you who continue to make the masterclass a priority on your second Friday, I'm so grateful to you for that and so appreciate you. And I appreciate this amazing group of coaches, and Kayla here is with us, and Nicole McClellan is with us today. And the glue of our team, Nicole Sampson, is doing other things today. And so I am super grateful for this team who has just supported me to help Inspired Results Group grow in our impact and in our community. And this is the first time that we have a special, very special guest in the masterclass. So I just want to take a breath and create some space to welcome you, Melody, into the Inspired Results Masterclass. And I was thinking about how did I want to, introduce you and talk about you as a brave and bold leader. And I was going to keep it really, off the cuff and casual. And then I had another look at your bio and I thought, no, I really need to read this bio. And I know how awkward that is to have your bio read sometimes when you're here. And I'm going to do it anyway, even if it feels vulnerable, right? Because I'm going to read this out and I just want you to listen. I want you to listen for who Melody is as a leader and how that's going to show up in this conversation. So Melody, with a passion for sustainability and 20 years of experience in the beauty industry, Melody Reynolds created a company with a simple message. Our daily choices create impact, and choosing ethical products means a more positive result. Since 2014, she's been in the business of creating innovative beauty products that encourage self-love and empower everyone to make better choices for their daily rituals. Melody's values are woven tightly into the fabric of Elate, with kindness at the forefront. At the end of the day, she believes that the ethics and purpose of a company all distill down to one thing: how did we leave people and the planet? She encourages the Elate community to see the beauty in everyday routines and recognize that routine becomes ritual when the action is more important than the result. This is my favorite. Her personal mission is to change the world, one lipstick at a time. I've got my Elate, face on, of course. And Melody, I am so honored to call you a friend, a partner in the work that we do together. And I'm just going to say, come on into the masterclass and say hello to everybody.
Thank you so much, Diane. It's a good thing we're talking about vulnerability because, that hearing you read my bio made me tear up already. Because it's so wonderful to be recognized for what you know and feel about yourself, and to have that come through in that written bio is just, I'm really grateful to you for pointing that out to me. Thank you so much. And thank you, all of you, for being here with us today. I'm so honored to have been invited to come and speak on this really important topic. So thank you, Diane.
A pleasure. So this is how we're going to roll, everybody. We've got, we're going to create about 15, 20 minutes of conversation space that will just be Melody and I having a conversation about vulnerability. Then we'll open up for some questions that I'm sure you're going to have for Melody about her leadership and her vulnerability beliefs. And then we are going to, because I hear that this is the favorite part of the masterclass, is the cool people you get to meet. So we'll move you into breakout rooms so that you can have a conversation about vulnerability and maybe practice vulnerability there. And then we'll wrap up shortly before 10 and send you on your way into your day. And what I actually really enjoyed last time in the masterclass, just open up the chat, just pop in your name and where you're calling in from, because I know we have some amazing geography represented here. So while you're doing that, what I would like to do very, very quickly, because I want to get into the conversation, I thought it might be helpful to just level set for a second around what we're talking about when we talk about vulnerability, so that our conversation between Melody and I has some context. So here's, of course, we're going to lean on Brené in this piece. So this is one of my favorite quotes: vulnerability sounds like truth and feels like courage. Truth and courage aren't always comfortable, but they're never weakness. So this is the other bridge we're building today, is talking about the fact that vulnerability is the precursor to courage, and you can't sidestep the vulnerability in moments of being brave. You need to move through the vulnerability. That is being brave. And that's what I want you to hold on to today. So this is one of Brené's other great quotes: you can't get to courage without rumbling with the vulnerability. So we're going to embrace the suck today. We're going to talk about what the suck looks and feels like in leadership, and why that's actually a strength when we're willing to do that, when we're willing to embrace that discomfort. And there's 6 myths that Brené breaks down in great detail in the Dare to Lead curriculum. And I just wanted to give you a visual of these myths so that we're busting myths quickly so that we can hear some stories about how vulnerability actually shows up in leadership. So we're just busting the myth that vulnerability is not weakness. It is absolutely not weakness. We all do vulnerability, so you can't avoid it. It's part of the human experience. And if you didn't feel vulnerable in the last 12 months, you're a robot, clearly. So we're all doing it. We're all experiencing it. You can't do it alone because we are wired for connection. So there's no isolating around the vulnerability. We're doing it together. You cannot engineer the uncertainty and discomfort out of it. Vulnerability is inherently uncomfortable, and that's okay. This is a big one that we end up dancing with a lot in Dare to Lead, but we're going to play with the idea that trust and vulnerability, I call it the dance. There's a dance between vulnerability and trust. And if you wait to fully trust before you're willing to show yourself and be yourself, trust won't come. So it's a dance. There's a lot of chemistry there. And here finally is another big one. Vulnerability is not disclosure. So we're not talking about unboundaried emotional unraveling as vulnerability. That is absolutely not what we're talking about. We're talking about, showing up, being yourself, being seen, and that's what vulnerability is all about. And that's what I love about Melody Reynolds, is that she shows up as her true self in any space. And Melody and I have been in the same community for 10 years. I've watched you grow your business, and you consistently show up as yourself in every space I see you in, Melody. And I so appreciate that about you.
Thank you. Yeah, who else am I going to be?
Everybody else is taken.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've level set, and Melody, I'm just going to make the assumption that you're like, yeah, check.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All these things are great. I really love, setting that baseline of here's all the things that you may not think consciously, but subconsciously, these are all the things that we've been told and taught from a young age, that specifically the vulnerability is weakness. And so it's really, I think, important to go through and just a little reminder that, yeah, all these things that you think that you may not even know that you think, but then putting a name on it so you can grasp it and say, this isn't what I want to think. I want to move past this. So I think that's a really good way to start.
Nice. So tell us a little bit about, so we've busted myths, and I'm so curious about how you define vulnerability in the context of your leadership.
Yeah, I really love that we've started at this place, because for me, vulnerability is just that. It's showing up and showing up with my whole self. So I firmly believe that you cannot lead from a place of hiding. You cannot lead from a place of pretending, because people will ultimately see through that, and no one wants to follow someone who's wearing a mask. Mm-hmm. It's very important to recognize that when we show up as our whole selves, that we enable others around us to do the same. And I don't know about all of you, but I really want people around me that I know. Not just like, oh, I know her. Oh, she likes puzzles. Like, no, I know her. I know what she will do in this situation. And I know how I can react to her in that situation, and how we can both become better people because of our relationship. I firmly believe that no matter what you're doing, it's always important to recognize how you're leaving that space, how you're leaving the room, how you're leaving the people that you were with. And did you leave them a little bit better than they were before? And you can't do that if you don't show up as your whole self. I don't know if any of you have ever worked a corporate job or a job where you kind of had to be on. I was a waitress for a very short time because I'm a really terrible waitress. I'm going to be honest with you. And I remember them talking about like being on, you show up and you put on your flair and you're like, you're on. It doesn't matter what's happening in your life. You've got to be on. And I remember even at, 17, feeling like that just it felt so false, and I didn't like that. And I thought to myself, I'm going to have to work in a job for the rest of my life until I die. And I don't want to have to show up to a place and pretend to be someone else every single day for the rest of my life. And that was a turning point for me, even though it was just a random job. I was not necessarily in a leadership position. I was bringing people lasagna and beer on Friday night. But I recognized that I didn't want my life to be separated and compartmentalized. I wanted to be able to show up as myself no matter where I was going to be. And like the myths talk about, it's not about disclosure. It's not about showing up and airing all my dirty laundry and like word vomiting all over the table. It's about showing up as myself, as who I am completely every single day, allowing others to do the same and moving forward in a way that feels really authentic and really true. Because when I am being true to myself, that's when I can be my best self. And that, in all honesty, is not only the philosophy of my leadership, but it's the philosophy of my entire company. Is how can we allow others to be their best selves? It's by being our best selves.
I love that. And I know that that's a policy in your company, the be your best self policy.
Yeah. It is, because, people show up and it's not like they shed their personal skin at the door. They come in with all of their stuff happening all the time. And so our job, specifically our leaders, is to make sure that everyone understands that we're here to support your whole self. And being your best self means that we can do our best work and move forward together in a way that is helpful to one another.
So in that theme of, I've watched you build a business, and you've been super brave to disrupt an industry with your beliefs around sustainability and minimal impact on the planet. So you're, I imagine, bumping up against a lot of challenging situations, even just in the industry. So are there vulnerable moments along that journey that you can share with us?
Yeah, when you are in a position to be disruptive, there's always going to be vulnerability. And it's not just external forces, it's internal as well, because I won't speak for anyone else in the audience here, but growing up as a woman, I'm a cis woman, I identify as a woman. There were very specific things along the path of my life that told me, sit down, be quiet, don't make waves, don't do anything that is not okay. And if you do, someone's going to call you out on it, and you're just expected to go and hide in the corner because you didn't do a good thing. And so actively working against that and actively trying to disrupt the status quo and being curious and asking questions opens you up to a whole world of the opportunity for your vulnerability to show through. And that's why I mentioned that the vulnerability as weakness is my favorite myth, because I cannot tell you how many situations I've been in over the last 20 years where I brought my whole self to a meeting, or I brought my whole self to the bank, or I brought my whole self to an event I was at, and I was viciously attacked, accused of being overly emotional, accused of not being smart enough to get the job done, accused of, just all these various things. And it all sort of goes around that realm of vulnerability as weakness. So if you show who you are as a human being, when we're in this business setting, well, you are weak and you are clearly not capable of doing the things that we need you to do. And so when I kind of branched off on my own and I left my corporate company, I had this serious resolve that, number one, I would never have to feel that way again. I'm asking questions because they're questions that need to be asked, and I'm showing up with my whole self because that's who I am as a leader. And I know that I need to be a leader if I want to disrupt the status quo and get the answers to those questions. And furthermore, I would never make anyone feel the way that I was made to felt. Isn't that the best lesson? Right? When we go through and we were made to feel a certain way, and then we have that resolve that says, I'm never going to do that to anyone else. Now, I'll be honest, I'm not always successful because leadership is a journey, as always. But it's so important to me to recognize that along the way, in terms of starting a company that is different, the yeah, the bumps have been really real, and the courage, which by the way, courage is one of my personal core values. And so it really resonates with me, this idea of, being courageous and vulnerability, because I never thought about it that way before until I met Diane, and we talked about Brene and went through all of those trainings and learnings. But it really is about being courageous and about recognizing that who you are as a whole person is how you lead. And it is so important to have courage to lead others, because you're setting that example. And, again, I want courageous people on my team, and I want people on my team who show up as their whole selves, who bring all of their experiences to the table, and who really make my company and make me a better person.
Mm-hmm. I love this. And so you've started to answer a question. And so this is a question I get a lot in Dare to Lead, which is, oh, this is all great, and Diane, and I want to practice vulnerability and I want to be braver, but not everybody around me will welcome it. People are going to shut me down, or they're going to judge or critique or criticize. So I sense that people are hoping it'll be, warm and warmly received, and keep on going, keep being yourself, keep being brave, keep challenging. But that's actually not the reality. We're going to bump up against a lot of armored people right now. So do you have any insights or tips for us on how to keep getting back into that arena?
Yeah, I mean, this is the wonderful thing about humans. I love humans. We're so complicated and diverse and just really beautiful, is that, wearing your armor is a way for you to avoid your own emotions, because that's uncomfortable. And when other people that you bump up against are disgruntled by your emotions, it's because they don't want to feel their own, right? It's this idea that, I see you getting emotional about whatever it is that we're discussing. And that makes me feel uncomfortable because I haven't come to terms with my own emotions. So really being in that arena of being comfortable with your own vulnerability is the most important part. And it's the first step, because I am so comfortable being vulnerable. I'm very comfortable with my emotions. Anger is actually one of the emotions that I'm the most uncomfortable with. I'm cool with most of the other ones, but anger is one that I recognize I armor up against, not only other people's, but my own. And so that's something that I know to work on. And when I come across that in someone else, I take a deep breath and I step back and go, okay, I'm going to react to this because I recognize in myself that I have a hard time dealing with that emotion. So, we had a team meeting a couple days ago, actually, and it was really funny because we're launching a new product this spring, and we always launch this beautiful video that talks about the message of the product. And we played the video at the beginning of the meeting, and I just lost it. Like, I was bawling in a corner because it's so beautiful. I can't wait for you all to see it. But I was literally I'm up in the front of this meeting, and I'm just like, tears are streaming down my face. And then I had to get up and talk. And I forgot what I was going to say because I was just so overcome with emotion about this. And someone on the team remarked, "Oh, this is the best company ever." Like that we can sit here and we can feel emotions. We're watching something that's supposed to invoke emotions, and we can feel them, and then we can name them and we can talk about them. So really it's creating that space for people to feel comfortable. And I'm not saying all of you have to sit at a meeting and cry to get people to feel comfortable, but that's over 10 years of me building the team around, getting used to being comfortable with their own emotions. But it's about recognizing in yourself what makes you armor up and what makes you feel like less courageous about your own vulnerability, and then really working on that and demonstrating it and being, for lack of a better word, just being honest. Like, hey, you know what? I'm bringing my whole self to the table today. I'm not feeling that great. This is how I'm feeling, and I want to move forward with that, out in the forefront. And just, I think honesty is one of the biggest things about vulnerability, is allowing others to recognize how you are working on your own strengths and how you are setting that example for them to work on theirs, we're all humans. None of us are perfect. And, isn't that the most beautiful part, is that we can learn from each other in terms of how we are reacting to one another and how we can be our best selves and do our best work. I love the journey. I love really getting to dive into, hey, this person said this thing to me and my immediate reaction was I didn't like that at all, and you're in the meeting. And so you don't say anything, but then afterwards I'm like, wow, why did I react that way? And to sort of dig down into, oh, well, she said this and then I felt shame because I didn't think of it first. And then and then I got angry because I should have thought of it first. And then I go down my shame spiral of, why did I not think of this first, or whatever it is, right? And then I go back and I say, hey, you probably noticed that I had a weird reaction in that meeting. I'm going to tell you why. It's because I have some shame that I didn't think of it first, but then further shame that as a leader, I didn't ask you for your opinion. That's an actual conversation I had a couple of weeks ago where I was like, oh, I reacted because of my own weird shame that I have around knowing stuff. And then I had to go to her and say, hey, this is a real thing. I had this moment and I'm going to share it with you. So number one, why I react that way. And then number two, in the future, I'm going to try and do better. And you can hold me accountable for that. And, having those types of conversations with the people on your teams, it's so important. And it's so awkward and so, weird. Like, hey, here's my shame. Can you hold it for me for just a minute while I explain it to you? So then later we can work together in a way that helps us move our company forward and helps us be better as humans. But it's not easy, right? It's not an easy thing, but it's a necessary thing. And I think it's so important from the big things to the little things.
Melody, I'm just smiling, thinking I think everybody on this call is probably like, is Elaine hiring? Because I want to work for her. And wow, your ability to that whole, you are the brave leader, you are the dare to lead kind of poster leader, I would say, in that whole skill you just identified of, oh, I can name my emotion. I can get curious about my emotion. And then I can circle back and talk about what's going on for me with people in a really open and transparent way. That's super freaking brave and very, very vulnerable. You're such a star. So I know there's probably a bunch of questions that people want to ask you, because I know I have about 10, but I get to ask you questions all the time, so I'll restrain myself.
You are the master question asker.
Yeah, I'll restrain myself here, but I just want to give other people an opportunity. So there is the reactions button. So maybe the best thing to do would be to roll with the actual hands up reactions button, and I will do my best to see that come up. Who's got a question on their mind that they would love to ask Melody? See if I can. Oh, there we go. Alex Ventul, come on. Of course you've got a question, you curious girl. Come on in.
Of course, it's the journalist in me. Yeah, Melody, I'm curious about, in theory, I think that sounds incredible. In practice, my question is always around time, right? Do those conversations, do they not take time, for you to unpack stuff? And when you're in the middle of the busy day and you've got stuff to do, and it just feels like that time is, I don't know, a luxury or hard for both people to find at one time. So how do you deal with that tricky thing?
I really love this question, Alex. Thank you so much. As a human being, time is very important to me. We only have so much of it. And especially when you run a company and I have kids and I have a family and I have things to do. And I don't want to work 12 hours a day. So with all of that in mind, my answer is a bit cheesy. You don't have time not to. Because in the moment, right? So in that meeting, when you have the reaction and you're like, oh God, this is not the leader that I want to be. The reaction I'm having right now is not the leader that I want to be. But I can't figure it out right in this moment because we got to get through the meeting. We have to get through the agenda points. However, I am going to take time afterwards to think about it, because the agenda points of the meeting are absolutely important for moving my company forward day to day. My agenda after the meeting, where I explore my own reactions to shame and braveness and vulnerability and truth, and then I can share that with my leadership team, is important for my vision of the future of my company. So that's why I say I don't have time not to. Even though in the moment I maybe can't react right then, because yeah, you're right. I'm in the middle of the meeting. I can't stop everybody for a 20-minute vulnerability break where we all cry and then hold hands and sing Kumbaya. But I can make time for it afterwards, and then I can make time for it to speak to my team about it. And I truly believe that. I can run my day-to-day like a robot. I think Diane said earlier, I really like that. I can go in robot mode and run my day-to-day, and yeah, we're going to be fine. We're going to be successful. However, I want this company to change the face of the world and to change the status quo of the industry we are in. And to do that, it's not just the day-to-day. It's not just the products we make. It's the leadership that comes from top down that allows us to exude that globally and will create more success for us in the future. Does that help?
Yeah, it really does. I liked what you said about keeping your focus on the vision, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what brings you back around to deciding that, yeah, actually it's like a stitch in time saves 9, right?
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Right.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And you're planning, you're taking a little bit of time today to plan for your future. That's really what it is. You know, it's like, I always talk about past Melody, present Melody, and future Melody. So, you know, past Melody who did that is really going to make future Melody's life a lot easier.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
All right, the questions are rolling in. So I just want to let people know. So Charlene, I see your hand up, then Leslie, Kimberly, and then Andrea. So we've got some great questions coming. So Charlene, come on in and ask your question.
Hi, Melody. I actually am sitting here, my Elite products as well. So yeah, I love that you're here with us, and I love everything you've said so far. And one of the things that you touched on, and I know I've talked with Diane a lot about, is that idea of supporting your team to be vulnerable as well as a leader and helping your team lead from within. And so I'm a little bit curious, you know, you're very obviously very courageous and vulnerable as a leader, but how do you empower those members of your team who might not have or might not be putting as much work into leadership and as you are, and you know, may not consider themselves a leader on the team, but empowering them to be courageous and to be vulnerable as well?
Mm-hmm. That's a really, really good question as well. I think that the most important thing about the way that we work at Elate is that everyone is a leader in their own right. And we really work on working together as a team in spaces that allows for that vulnerability based on the example of the person who's running the space. So for instance, if it's me, I'm always going to set that example of vulnerability. And again, it's not disclosure. It's not crying, which I do cry a lot though, however. It's about truths. It's about, you know, the most important thing for me is having every single member of the team see me admit when I've made a mistake. That is a huge, huge way. Like, I would almost say, if you want to orchestrate it, make a mistake on purpose and then admit it. Like, it is such an important piece for everyone on the team, you know, from myself to the members of the leadership team to our junior members, that they see their leaders and me specifically making mistakes and then talking about those mistakes. And not in a contrived way, like in a really genuine, like, wow, I messed this up. And I'm going to tell this to all of you because I want all of you to learn from my mistake. And I have no shame in being wrong. And I have no, you know, and there is no shame in wanting to learn and be curious. And we talk a lot also about failure and about how failure makes us stronger and how failure makes us better as a company and makes us stronger as a team. So I think the biggest thing is that there's a lot of opportunity here for everyone on the team to practice that. And ultimately, it's in my best interest because I want everyone on my team to work up to a leadership role. I want everyone on my team to be taking ownership and responsibility for their role in the company. And so by modeling that behavior, by modeling vulnerability and modeling courage and modeling that, you know, mistakes and failures are going to happen and we're going to work together and work through them, then it's like creating these little, you know, these mini leaders that actually will be better than me. And that's my biggest goal, is that, you know, not only do I want to leave everybody a little bit better than I found them, I want to hire people that ultimately are better than me. They're better leaders than me. They're smarter than me. They're better at their job than I am. And if I can empower them by doing things like admitting my mistakes openly, you know, admitting when I'm wrong openly, and by allowing people to challenge me and to really, you know, take ownership of what they do. Yeah, that's the number one thing, is to make sure that everyone sees that I'm a human being and I make mistakes just like you, and that's okay. The important thing about it is to move forward and learn from it, and then grow from it, and then pass that down. So it's setting the example is so important.
Thank you. It actually reminds me of, and I have it right in front of me from when I did Dare to Lead with Diane, but Brene Brown's quote of courage is contagious, and that idea of leading by example. And so I love the way you ingrain it in your culture. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, and I also love, there's another piece about, you know, one of the biggest shame triggers for people at work is irrelevance, which that really resonated with me. Not necessarily because I remember a time when I felt irrelevant. I'm sure there was, but it was mainly recognizing that everyone on my team wants to feel relevant. They want to feel like they're a part of something bigger, and they are. And the best way to do that is to show them that, you know what, we're all in this together, and it's important to move forward together through that vulnerability space.
Awesome. Good question, Charlene. Well, and I just want to add just a plug here, or whatever it is, to say that Melody isn't building this culture by accident and hoping it will happen. Like, you're investing in your people a lot. I mean, you're a growing business, and yeah, you've invested a lot in Dare to Lead training. You've invested in coaching. So this doesn't happen by accident. It happens with intention, is I think important to realize. And I just so appreciate that about you. You're willing to invest in your culture and in your people.
I firmly believe that you can teach anyone anything. We are all beautiful humans who love to learn and who have the ability to learn how to do anything. You can learn any skill. It's much harder to teach soft skills like curiosity, like empathy, like humility. You know, there are 6 things that we look for when we are hiring people, and it's all within that space of, you know, critical empathetic intelligence. I want to know what kind of human you are, not how good a spreadsheet you can create. Honestly, the spreadsheet thing is nice, but you can learn that in a weekend course.
Yeah.
What you can't learn in a weekend course is how to foster togetherness to create a global powerhouse company, because it's the team that does everything. Doesn't matter how good our products are, if our team isn't able to rally together, then we won't be successful.
Amazing. Okay, so let me just manage expectations here. So we've probably got 4 more minutes, and we've got Leslie. Do you still want to come in and ask your question? I know you were in the chat. Come on in if you're ready.
Hi, thank you. This was kind of maybe already answered, but not 100%. So I'm going to ask it anyways.
Go for it.
So I heard you talk about your corporate job that, you know, where vulnerability wasn't necessarily celebrated. And then you took that learning and you built something fabulous on your own and built it on that culture that you wanted to see. But I just want to go back to that culture that doesn't celebrate vulnerability, because those cultures need this too. So I guess my question is, how do you build trust and vulnerability in the most guarded of cultures?
That is a really good question. And I'm very lucky that in my organization, I'm the CEO, I'm the founder. So I actually get to create that culture for myself. So all of the teachings and the learnings that I'm passing down, with Diane's help, of course, they come from me. And then I handpick all the people in my leadership teams, because I know that they're going to keep that message rolling through and keep vulnerability at the key point. However, in my previous career, I didn't have a name for it back then. I didn't even know Brene Brown existed, 15 years ago. And the key difference was that I was young and I didn't know that I had a voice. And that is the number one thing, is we can't wait for the culture to change for us. We have to change it. And when I look back and I think about young Melody, the thing that I would go back and tell her is, don't ever be afraid to raise your voice. Because even though everyone else in the room has way more experience, is just frankly taller and more giant, because I worked with like a bunch of men that were over 6 feet tall. So it was very, in a beauty company, which I know sounds weird, but that's a thing that a lot of people don't know. Beauty companies are all run by men. I was the only woman that was in the boardroom. And I didn't speak up so many times when I should have. I didn't speak up when I was being belittled. I didn't speak up when they were belittling each other. I didn't speak up when I knew that what we were doing wasn't going to stand the test of time or wasn't right. And I wish that I had been able to recognize that not only did I have a voice, but my voice mattered, and that speaking up would have made a difference. Even if it hadn't made a difference in the company, it would have made a difference to me. And it would have made a difference to how I moved through the world and to how my confidence grew. I'm not sure if that's helpful, but that's what I would say is the first step to changing any culture is to work on yourself and to recognize that you do have a voice and it does matter and you should use it.
Thank you. That does help.
Yeah.
Yay, of course it does. Okay, Kimberly, come on in.
Okay, I'll try to be quick because I know I want everyone to have their opportunity to. What a fabulous way to spend Friday morning.
Right?
I'm going to be listening to this one again. My question for you, though, is, I love that. And I try to practice that on my team. We ask our team to show up. We ask them, we have high standards. We expect a lot. I don't believe in asking for 110% because we are a fixed commodity. This is it. This is what you got to work with. So when people show up, and I love that, being them best, we want them to be their best selves. When that isn't happening, I'm curious what does that look like in your team? How do people respond to that? Because we can hold space for that in leadership or in our specific teams. And I know sometimes it rocks the boat more broadly. I'm just curious how that plays out.
Yeah, I love that you're asking this question, Kimberly, and Diana's smiling because she and I have had several conversations about this. I definitely identify myself as a helper. I'm a person who likes to help other people. And so the Be Your Best Self policy could, if I let it, quickly become a space where people are just bringing all their stuff to work and not getting their work done. And then I'm trying to help them. And so it's really important to define what that means in a workspace specifically. And so for us, it's the Be Your Best Self policy. Are you able to bring your whole self to work, do your best work, and be your best self? Because let's be honest, part of feeling like my best self is accomplishing things, right? Nobody wants to feel irrelevant. Nobody wants to do things that aren't good. However, if a member of the team shows up and they are not their best, and they are either A, able to admit it, or B, it is very recognizable, we actually enact our new and improved Be Your Best Self policy, which says if you are not your best self, we have access to PTO, because we have a PTO policy here. So if you are not feeling your best self, we suggest you access your paid time off and take a day, so then you can come back and feel your best self later. We also have access to wonderful benefits where you can go and actually have some counseling, have some therapy. Because here's the number one thing. I'm the CEO and the founder of this company, and I hold a beautiful container and space for you to be your best self and bring your whole self. I am not a psychologist, a counselor, a therapist, or your mom. So I am not here to solve those problems for you. All I can do is give you suggestions on either A, how you can continue to be here with us, and we'll hold space for you to try and accommodate you as we can. But if you're not able to bring your best self and do your best work that day, then we actually would ask you to go and access these other ways that you can be your best self there. Is that helpful?
I'm high-fiving.
I love that. I need you to say it again. What was it? What did you call that? Not your best self, it's your enhanced best self, or
be your best self and do your best work. I'm not sure.
The policy, like if people don't show up and it's obvious, and you're improved, or maybe it was your new and improved best self or something. I just thought it was great.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to go back in the recording. But yeah, the main thing is if you're not showing up as your best self, then you know, we can't hold that space for you if you can't hold it for yourself. Because we've all had that day when you're like, yeah, I'm not feeling my best self, but I can still bring it. It's cool. And for some people, especially if there's been an event in their life that they're trying to work through, coming to work is a great space to do that, to just kind of leave what you are working on at home behind and to come in and really focus on something that makes you feel accomplished and makes you feel good and relevant. But some people can't separate those two things. And yeah, and it's really important to recognize that I am here to hold the container, but I can't hold it for certain things. You need to access other services for other things. And then come back and do your best work with us when you're all, you know, when you're feeling better, and we'll be here to support you through that as well.
Yeah, it's very honoring. It's a really, you honor the workplace, you honor the colleagues, you honor the person and the situation in life. So yeah, that's awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, great. That's so great. I love that. Of course, we've worked on this, so I love that this question came up. And yeah, it's as leaders, it's not our job to fix everything for everyone. God, that's a lot of weight to carry. So
yeah,
hold people capable, give them the resources, the support, the empathy. I love, yeah. This is why you're here, Melody. Teach us all so much.
Oh, thank you.
It's 9:47. I am learning so much that when we have an amazing guest like this, we need lots of space for questions. So I'm feeling the tension of I want to build in a little breakout space. So Andrea, I'm going to beg forgiveness and I'm going to move people into breakout rooms for conversations because so much has come up. I want you to have some space to talk about what's come up for you and share that and practice a little vulnerability, of course. So let me just pop up my slides here just to support the question. And I'm going to multitask my way here. So here's what I would like. So this is the definition of vulnerability that we've been talking about. It's about risk, uncertainty, or emotional exposure. That is vulnerability. So where have you been avoiding vulnerability? You know, now that you've listened to Melody's stories and teachings and her experience of vulnerability, where are you avoiding it? I would like you to kind of connect to that idea and share with your group, is there a place where you want to be braver? Where could you be a little bit braver? So write down these questions while I'm setting up your beautiful groups. And I'm going to have you in just 3 to 4 people in a group. Give you a little bit of space now. How much time do we have? Not enough is the bottom line. So I'm going to let you gather for 6 minutes together, and then we'll come back out of the breakout rooms. We'll wrap up our time together here. Now, Melody may be leaving, I think, to head on to preparing for big meetings at 10 o'clock, I think, right?
Yeah, if that's okay, I'm going to say goodbye, but it's been such a wonderful time to spend with you all. And I'm just so appreciative of your questions. And yeah, I'm really, really honored to have been invited. Thank you. Thank you, Diane.
Thank you for showing up consistently, your full self, your true self. And we all learned so much from you today, Melody. So thank you. You are a model for us all.
Thank you. And I'll just leave you with one last thing before I leave, because I just realized I didn't get an opportunity to talk about trust. But that's one of the big things too, is trusting people is taking a risk. And that is the scariest part about vulnerability, is that you are trusting people with your whole self. But it is a risk that is always worthwhile if you want to create something really special.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye. Thanks, everyone.
All right, high fives for Melody. Here we go. I'm opening up the rooms. Have some wonderful, vulnerable conversations. What a great place to practice. Nobody's going to come back early. Here we go. Karen, you got to have a one-on-one with someone. Was it with Nancy? Awesome. Awesome. Welcome back as you're rolling back into the main room here. Soon everybody's going to get whisked back into the main room. here they all come. Here they all come. Welcome back. Was that a great conversation? You can give me a reactions button or just a thumbs up. I imagine it.
Yeah.
They were amazing, amazing. Well, that was really good learning for me. It's like, okay, when you have a guest who's as amazing as Melody, we just need all the time to talk to her. So yeah, she is amazing. And of course, I want to let you know how you can be as amazing as Melody is, because we've got Dare to Lead going on and we've opened up registration. We've already got, I think, 7 amazing people signed up for this spring cohort. So I'm really excited. We're doing version 2. The curriculum's shifted a little bit. It's longer. So we've got 6 sessions starting April 19th. We're doing 4 Monday afternoons in a row and then 2 Tuesday afternoons. This was what it looks like, 3-hour blocks. This is pretty game-changing leadership development. And I know many of you already have taken it that are on the call here. And I'm just so grateful to Melody for taking the time to share those learnings. Clearly, she has done so much work on herself, first and foremost, and then in putting that in practice as a leader. She inspires me so much, and I was so delighted to share her with all of you. So as always, I just would love you to drop in like just a little insight. What did you learn today in the masterclass? Open up your chat box, just drop in here's what I'm taking away, Diane. Yeah, not long enough, right, Tammy? Yeah, good learning there. Just drop in, what are you taking away? And then I'll send you on your way to have a marvelous Friday, and the weekend is right around the corner. So good to be with you all. I appreciate you all so much. I love this space too. It's fun creating your own space to hang out with people you really love hanging out with. Oh, I love that, Kimberly. Be your best self policy. Yay, Leslie, all the way from East Coast. I think we had a lot of provinces represented today. Be your best self. Great learnings. Thank you for coming, Diane. Thanks, everybody. I know it's the top of the hour, so have a wonderful day. Thank you for being here.